Ashvin decides to leave Boston and purchase a small farm in western Massachusetts. He's choosing between three farms. One measures 250 yards by 250 yards. The second is 235 by 260, and the third farm measures 225 by 268. So let's start off by finding the area of each one of these yards. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, like I did in problem one, draw a picture. Anytime, like I said, anytime I could draw a sketch to somehow visualize the problem, I always do. So let's just draw a nice simple rectangle for yard number one. Let's do the same for yard number two, and again for yard number three. Okay, the first one measures 250 by 250. So that first number, you just call it the length, and the second number the width. So it doesn't really matter which one you call which, but they can't be opposite of each other. So 250 by 250. The second yard, or the second farm, 235 by 260, and the third one 225 by 268. Now we're looking for the area, so make sure you're using the right formula for area. Area is equal to length times width. It doesn't matter if it's a square or a rectangle. It looks like the first farm is a square and the other two are rectangles, but either way. So for farm number one, the area is equal to 250 times 250, which is 62,500. I did all my calculations ahead of time, so I didn't have to bring up the calculator in the video. Now we want to make sure we're using the correct units. Now, each of these measurements is given in terms of yards. So 250 yards times 250 yards, well, we're using yards twice, so the units would be square yards. So you could actually write the words square yards or yards with the exponent of 2, either way. Okay, so that's the area of the first farm. Second one would be 235 times 260. And according to the calculator, that's 61,100, again, square yards. And farm number 3, area would be 225 times 268. And again, according to the calculator, that is 60,300 square yards. All right, and then in part B, also using the information given in the problem, if Ashvin decides to put a fence around his farm, which one would require the least amount of fence? Now, we can't assume it's the one with the smallest area. It might be, but it might not be. Now, before we do any calculations, it's important to note the key term here is the word around. So we're not worried about what's on the inside, the area on the inside of the fence. We're looking for the fence around the farm, and the word around means we're looking for perimeter. And for the perimeter of any polygon, we're going to add up all the sides. And so I'm going to go ahead and label the other two just so everything is visualized in the problem. So this side would be 260, this one would be 235, this would be 268 and 225. Okay, so for yard number 1, the perimeter is equal to 250 plus 250, 250 and 250, or we could have said 4 times 250, either way. And that adds up to 1,000 yards. Remember, square yards would be the units for area, but just yards would be the unit for length. And perimeter is length. Oh, that's not the answer. Our question is which one would require excuse me, which one would require the least amount of fence? So let's look at farm number 2. That perimeter would be 235 plus 235 plus 260 plus 260 for a total of 990 yards. Okay, so we know we've ruled out farm number 1. That's not the answer. Could be farm number 2. So let's look at farm number 3. Same thing. The perimeter is equal to 225 plus 225 plus 268 plus 268 for a total of 986 yards. So it looks like farm number 3 is the farm that would require the least amount of fence. Like I said, you can't assume the smallest area means the smallest perimeter. Sometimes it works out that way. Sometimes it doesn't. All right, that should do it for this problem.